I am 100 years old, and the thing I regret most is not a war, not a loss, not the poverty that ground us down to bone meal in the winter of 1951. It is a Tuesday afternoon in April. An ordinary Tuesday. The sun was coming through the kitchen window at that particular angle it only hits in spring, warm and sideways, turning the dust in the air into something almost beautiful. My daughter was standing in the doorway asking me something. And I said, "Not now, Eleanor. Mama is busy." That was 61 years ago. She never asked again. Not like that. Not with that open face. I have had a long time to understand what I lost in that moment. 100 years is long enough to see everything clearly, not with bitterness, not anymore, but with the particular calm that comes when you have finally stopped arguing with the truth. I am not telling you this story because I want your sympathy. I am telling you this story because I know something about love that took me 81 years to learn, and I do not want you to need that long. What I want to tell you about is not the love they write songs about, not the love that arrives in grand gestures and departs in dramatic scenes. I want to tell you about the other kind. The quiet kind. The kind that doesn't announce itself when it's leaving. By the time you notice it's gone, it has been gone for years. You just didn't feel the door close because you were always in the other room, busy with something that no longer exists. I know this because I lived inside that other room for the better part of 4 decades. My name is Margaret. I was born in 1925 in a small house in rural Pennsylvania, the second of 5 children, to a mother who showed love through ironed collars and a father who showed it not at all. I learned early that love was a thing you demonstrated through work, through keeping, through not falling apart. Tenderness felt dangerous to me, like something that could be taken away the moment you let yourself need it. So I kept my hands moving. Always moving. A clean house. A pressed tablecloth. Supper on the table at 6. For 43 years. And I called that love. I was wrong. But I didn't know it yet, and the not knowing is its own kind of tragedy, because you cannot correct a mistake you are certain you are not making. From the outside, we looked like exactly what a family was supposed to look like in 1955. Robert had a steady job at the plant. I kept the house. Eleanor was born in March of that year, kink and furious, and then Daniel came 2 years later, quieter, watchful, with his father's eyes and my mother's habit of watching a room before entering it. We had a yard. We had a car. We had neighbors who waved from driveways on Sunday mornings. What we did not have, what I did not give, was presence. I don't mean I was absent in the way people mean now, with their telephones and their screens. I was physically there every single day. I made the lunches. I washed the clothes. I attended every school play, every parent evening, every birthday without exception. I was there. But there is a difference between being in a room and being in a room, and for most of my children's childhood, I was somewhere just slightly behind my own eyes, managing, organizing, maintaining, while the actual moment passed through me like light through glass, leaving no warmth. Eleanor was 7 the first time she tried to tell me something that mattered to her. We were sitting at the kitchen table after school. She had a drawing she'd made, a house with a yellow roof and 2 figures standing outside it, one tall and one small, holding hands. She pushed it across the table toward me and watched my face with the particular intensity that children have before they learn to hide what they're hoping for. She wanted to see something happen in my eyes. She was waiting for it. I glanced at it. I said, "That's lovely, sweetheart." And I turned back to the pot I was stirring. She folded the drawing in half. Then in half again. Then she put it in her pocket and went upstairs. I didn't notice that she took it back. I didn't notice because I was already somewhere else in my mind, thinking about whether Robert needed his winter coat taken to the cleaners before Thursday, whether there was enough flour for the week, whether the crack in the bathroom tile was getting wider. The machinery of maintenance running constantly, loudly, drowning out everything that didn't need to be fixed. But a child who folds her drawing and puts it back in her pocket, that is something that needs to be fixed. I just didn't have the eyes for it yet. There was a coldness growing in our house that had nothing to do with the temperature. It was the coldness of a love that was never doubted but also never felt. Robert and I were not unhappy, and happy would have been easier, would have forced a reckoning. We were simply parallel. 2 people moving through the same space on separate tracks, occasionally intersecting, mostly not. And the children learned from us. They learned that love was quiet and dutiful and did not require your full attention. Eleanor learned it so well that by the time she was 15, She had stopped bringing things to me entirely. I thought that meant she was growing up. There were 3 moments I should have seen. I see them clearly now, from this distance. At the time they looked like nothing. That is the cruelest thing about this kind of loss, it doesn't announce itself. It accumulates in silence, the way dust accumulates in a room you never open. The first moment was the summer of 1963. Eleanor was 8 years old and had discovered, somewhere, a love for drawing birds. She had filled an entire notebook, a brown composition notebook with a torn corner on the cover with pencil sketches of robins, sparrows, a blue jay she had watched for 3 mornings from the back fence. She brought the notebook to me on a Saturday morning while I was hanging laundry in the backyard, the sheets white and heavy in the June heat. She held it out with both hands, the way you hold something you consider precious. I told her I would look at it later. Later never came. I forgot. She never mentioned the notebook again, and I never asked. 6 months afterward I found it in the bottom of the hallway closet when I was reorganizing for winter. I put it on the kitchen table meaning to look through it that evening. I found it there 3 days later, untouched. I moved it to the shelf. I don't know what happened to it after that. I stopped seeing it, the way you stop seeing things that have always been in the same place. That notebook disappeared from the shelf sometime in the late 60s and I never thought to ask where it went. Eleanor is 73 years old now. She still draws. She never showed me another sketchbook. The second moment was December 1971. Eleanor was 16. There was a boy, I learned his name only years later, Thomas Brewer, and something had happened between them. Something that had left her quiet in a new way, a heavier way, the kind of quiet that sits in the chest rather than the room. She came to find me on a Wednesday evening. I was paying bills at the desk in the hallway, the lamp making a tight circle of yellow light over the checkbook, the rest of the house dark and cold behind me. She stood in the doorway for a moment. I could see her in my peripheral vision, but I was in the middle of a column of numbers and I held up one finger without looking up. "Just a second," I said. She waited. I finished the column. Then the phone rang, and I answered it, and it was Robert's mother, and by the time I put the receiver down 15 minutes later, Eleanor was gone. Her bedroom door was closed. I could see the line of light underneath it. I told myself I would check on her after dinner. I did not check on her after dinner. I told myself she was a teenager, that teenagers wanted privacy, that pressing her would only push her away. I built a reasonable explanation out of my own avoidance and I believed it completely. That is the particular genius of self-deception, it always arrives dressed as wisdom. Eleanor did not come to me again with something that tender for 11 years. The third moment came in the spring of 1978. Eleanor was 23, newly married to a man named Gerald, living 40 minutes away in a house with a small garden she was learning to tend. She called me on a Thursday evening, which was unusual. We spoke on Sundays. That was our habit, Sundays at 7. A Thursday call meant something. Her voice was different. Lighter on the surface, careful underneath. "I just wanted to talk," she said. "And God help me," I told her I was in the middle of making supper and could we speak Sunday as usual. She said of course. She said it the way people say of course when they mean something else entirely. Sunday came. I called at 7. We talked for 22 minutes about Gerald's new position, about the garden, about whether her father's back was improving. It was a perfectly pleasant conversation. Neither of us mentioned Thursday. I understand now what Thursday was. Thursday was Eleanor trying, one more time, with the part of her that had not yet given up, to find a way back to me. To see if the door was open, to find out if anything had changed since she was 7 years old and had pushed a drawing across a kitchen table and watched my face for something that never came. I answered the door and offered her a Sunday appointment. The distance between us after that was the same distance as before. It looked identical from the outside. Same phone calls. Same holiday visits. Same birthday cards with the right words inside them. But something had shifted in its foundations. Something that had been leaning toward me had quietly straightened up and learned to stand alone. I didn't feel it happen. I was making supper. I turned 81 in March of 2006. Eleanor organized a small dinner. Just family: Gerald, their 2 children, Daniel and his wife. Robert had been gone for years by then, a quiet exit after a quiet life, a man who had moved through the world without leaving much noise in it, and the house felt different without even his particular silence in it. Eleanor had cooked everything herself. She'd driven over that morning with bags of groceries and spent 6 hours in my kitchen, and when I came downstairs the table was set the way I used to set it, the good plates, the cloth napkins folded into points, a small glass vase with 3 yellow tulips in the center. I stood in the doorway and felt something move in my chest that I did not have a name for yet. Dinner was warm and easy. The grandchildren were loud in the good way. Gerald told a long story about something at work that no one entirely followed but everyone laughed at anyway. Daniel kept refilling my glass without being asked. It was, by any measure, a good evening. The kind of evening that feels like a gift while it is happening, which is rare enough that you notice it. Afterward, when the others had moved to the living room, Eleanor and I were left at the table. She was stacking plates slowly, not in a hurry, and I was sitting with my hands around my wine glass, and there was a particular quality to the quiet between us, not uncomfortable, but weighted, the way air feels before rain. As though something had been waiting a long time for permission to arrive, she picked up the small vase with the 3 tulips. She looked at it for a moment, turning it slightly in her hands. Then she said, without looking at me, "I used to bring you things, you know. When I was little. I was always bringing you things." She said it the way you say something you have been carrying for a very long time and have finally decided to set down. Not with anger. Not with accusation. Not even with sadness, exactly. With a tiredness that was worse than any of those things. The tiredness of someone who has long since made their peace with something and is simply, finally, naming it out loud. I did not speak. "I don't think you ever knew that," she said. "I don't think you knew what I was doing." She set the vase back down carefully, in the center of the table where she had placed it. She picked up the plates again and carried them to the kitchen. The door swung behind her. I sat at that table for a long time. The tulips were yellow. 3 of them, the same yellow as the roof in the drawing she had made when she was 7 years old, the house, the 2 figures outside it, the small one and the tall one standing together, holding hands. A drawing I had glanced at and turned away from. A drawing she had folded in half, then in half again, and put back in her pocket because there was nowhere else for it to go. 61 years collapsed into that single moment I had been there. I had always been there. Every day, every meal, every school play and birthday and Sunday phone call. And I had never once let her reach me. The kitchen sounds continued, water running, the soft knock of plates being stacked, the ordinary sounds of a daughter who had learned, over the course of an entire lifetime, not to need an answer from me. She had built herself a life that did not require my full attention, because she had understood by the age of 8 that my full attention was not something she could count on. She had learned that from me. I taught her that, as carefully and consistently as I had taught her anything. I have had 19 years since that evening to think about what I did wrong. 19 years is a long time to sit with something. Long enough to stop being angry at yourself. Long enough to stop constructing elaborate defenses. Long enough to finally see the thing clearly, without the distortion of guilt or the comfortable fog of self-pity. Here is what I see. I did not fail Eleanor because I was cruel. I did not fail her because I was selfish in the ways people usually mean when they use that word. I failed her because I had confused the maintenance of love with the experience of it. I kept everything running. I kept everything clean and fed and organized and accounted for. And I believed, with complete sincerity, that this was love, that the doing was the feeling, that if I kept the machinery of the family in motion, the warmth would radiate outward naturally, would be felt without needing to be expressed or demonstrated or received. But children do not feel the ironed collar. They feel the hand that pauses on their shoulder for a moment longer than necessary. They feel the eyes that look up from whatever they are doing and stay up. They feel the silence that says without words, without explanation, I am here and nothing right now is more important than you. That particular silence, I never learned to make. It felt to me like stopping. Like falling behind. Like something I could not afford. I want to give you one question. Not a rule. Not a lesson written on a wall somewhere. Just a question, the one I should have asked myself 40 years earlier. The one that would have changed the entire shape of my life if I had taken it seriously. What is this person trying to give me right now? Not what do they need. Not what should I do for them. What are they trying to give? Because that is what Eleanor was always doing. She was bringing me drawings and bird notebooks and first-day phone calls and a small open face pushed across a kitchen table. She was offering herself, in the only languages a child and then a young woman knows how to use. And I kept being too busy to receive any of it. Receiving is its own skill. I did not know that then. I thought love flowed in one direction outward, from parent to child, in the form of provision and protection and maintenance. I did not understand that a child needs to give love too, needs to have that love taken, needs to see it land somewhere and matter and change the expression on your face. When you are always too busy to receive what your child is offering, you do not simply fail to connect with them. You teach them that what they have to give is not worth stopping for. You teach them that love is a thing you provide, not a thing you share. Eleanor learned that lesson from me with perfect fidelity. She became, like me, a woman whose hands were always moving. I know what you are thinking right now. I know because I thought all of it too. For years, in the long stretch of time when I could still tell myself there was plenty of it left. You are thinking that your situation is different. That you are present in the ways that matter. That your children know you love them. They must know. Look at everything you do. Look at how hard you work. Look at all of it. You are thinking that the busy season will end soon. That things will slow down. That there will be more time in the next chapter. The one that begins after this particular pressure passes and you can finally breathe and be the parent you have always intended to be. I thought all of those things. I thought them with absolute conviction from approximately 1955 until sometime around 1978, at which point I stopped thinking them consciously and simply lived inside them as though they were facts of nature rather than choices I was making every single day. The busy season does not end. That is the thing no one says plainly enough. There is always another reason for the hands to keep moving. The children grow, and then there are different pressures, different urgencies, different things that feel more immediately demanding than a child standing in a doorway with something to say. And then the child stops standing in the doorway. And you do not notice when it happens, because you were looking at something else when it did. I am not telling you that you are making my mistake. I am asking you to look honestly, without the comfortable blur of business ends at the last time someone you love tried to give you something. A drawing. A first day phone call. A question asked in a particular tone of voice that meant more than the question itself. And ask yourself whether you received it. Whether you actually stopped and let it land. Whether they could feel, in that moment, that what they were offering mattered more to you than whatever else was in your hands. One moment of true receiving is worth more than 1,000 careful acts of provision. I know that now. I learned it at a table set with good plates, from a daughter who had spent 51 years trying to find her way through to me, and who had finally, not with anger, not with drama, but with the quiet exhausted honesty of a woman who has nothing left to lose by telling the truth, simply named what had happened between us. Eleanor came to see me last Sunday. She brought tulips. She always brings tulips now, 3 yellow ones, every time, in a small glass vase that she places in the center of the table without being asked. I have never told her why that detail matters to me. Some things do not need to be spoken to be understood. We sat together for 4 hours. I did not straighten anything. I did not think about what needed doing after she left, or run through lists in the back of my mind while she talked. I kept my hands still in my lap and I looked at her face, really looked, the way I should have been looking for 50 years, and I listened to everything she said, and some things she didn't say, and I let all of it land inside me the way it had always been trying to. She showed me photographs on her telephone, her granddaughter, my great-granddaughter, 4 years old, with Eleanor's same watchful eyes, had drawn something at school that week. A house with a yellow roof. 2 figures standing outside it, one tall and one small. Eleanor held the phone toward me and watched my face.
This time I put down everything I was holding. This time I looked for as long as the moment asked me to. She saw me do it. I know she did, because something shifted in her face just slightly, just briefly. The way a room changes when someone opens a window that has been painted shut for a very long time. Not a dramatic change. Just air, moving again, where before there was stillness. We did not speak about the drawing she made when she was 7. We did not talk about the brown notebook full of birds, or the December evening in 1971, or the Thursday phone call I answered with a Sunday. Some losses do not need to be cataloged to be acknowledged. Some repairs happen in silence, slowly, over many years of small chosen moments. And they do not erase what was lost, but they build something true alongside it, something that belongs only to who you are now, not to who you failed to be then. I am 100 years old. I have learned that love is not something you provide. It is something you receive, again and again, with your full attention, for as long as you are given the chance. The tulips are still on the table. 3 of them. Yellow, I keep looking at them.